So that's cool. Hey, something happened. Princeton, West Virginia. A kid was raced to the hospital and was dying of poisoning. And the story they were able to piece together through this kid's moments of consciousness and through his friends was the fact that he had taken into his body antifreeze. Like, who would do such a thing to this poor kid, 18 years old? And they came to find out from his friends that, well, no, he drank it himself. Did someone spike his drink? Well, so he voluntarily drank antifreeze. And here's the story. It began like this. Well, he was at this party. Those are always good stories when they start with that phrase, okay? He was at this party, and there was a game that emerged. It was called Mountain Dew Russian Roulette, okay? And it involved 6 cans of Mountain Dew, all opened, one of which were spiked with antifreeze. Now, a normal mind with all the brain cells rubbing together would say, I don't want to be a part of this game. But we were at a party. Everyone was smiling and looking. And so this kid decided to engage in Mountain Dew Russian Roulette, and he drank the wrong can. So he was in critical condition in the hospital. His parents were like, why? What possible explanation could there be? Here it is. I was at this party. It's a human condition known as party blindness. It means it sounds like a really good idea when your group of friends are all standing around. We're all smiling. This will be fun. It'll be a riot. It'll make for a good story. But it never sounds as smart when you're explaining it to the arresting officer or on the Jerry Springer show for millions of people, or when you watch the video that went viral on YouTube. It just never seems as smart because in that moment, in that little dome of your party, this was a good idea. We're going to look at party blindness this morning. There's a specific story I want us to look at in the book of Daniel. Now, up to this point, so Daniel, quick preface to this. Daniel was the Babylonians, as God predicted they would do, came down into Israel and took the nation of Israel captive, used them as slaves. Daniel was one of the first ones taken. He was from a royal family. And after he was made a eunuch, yeah, let's all wince on that one. That one doesn't make it into the Sunday school editions of this story, but that's what it was. He became a right-hand man and worked with Nebuchadnezzar, who eventually, it took some time, really was brought over to the worship of the God of Israel. We're going to worship Daniel's God, no idols, no nothing. We're going to worship Daniel's God. And that was the edict handed down. Now along comes the bonehead grandson. This is why blood dynasties do not work, because the bonehead grandson who was raised in the palace comes along, and that's Belshazzar. Belshazzar gave a great banquet for thousands of his nobles and drank wine with them. It's the recipe for stupidity. Thousands of people who you're wanting to impress. He's a fairly new king, a fairly young man, and they're all gathered around. Oh, and then they start drinking the wine, which has been known to lower the IQ, I'm told. Okay, who am I trying to kid? I've experienced. Now, what is happening historically, and don't get bored, I think this will be interesting even if you're a non-historical person. Babylon was one of the wonders of the ancient world as far as defensibility, as far as a militarily safe place. That was Babylon. Babylon was an extraordinarily, even by today's standards, an extraordinarily safe place to be. Because one wonders why Belshazzar is throwing a party when his army is off battling the Persians 50 miles away, and P.S. had just lost resoundingly. And you thought this would be a good time for a party? Part of this tells you the arrogance of Belshazzar. We live in Babylon. There's no chance in West Gehenna anybody can penetrate this city. And he had good reason for thinking that. The walls of Babylon were 350 feet high. That's hard to fathom. So let me make it easy for you. I looked this up. I did the Cleveland edition of this. That is, picture Brown Stadium, twice as high as Brown Stadium. That's impressive. The whole city had walls twice as high as Brown Stadium, okay? At 250 places around the city, there were these towers, 250 towers that were 100 feet high with archers waiting for anyone that came up. Well, still though, if you know anything about ancient warfare, you can shove a tower, a siege tower it's called, up against those walls. That's what they do. Except that Babylon was protected by a moat which was 30 feet wide. You're not getting anything close to that wall. It will glop into the water and you're not going to. Still, though, if an army surrounded Babylon, couldn't they starve them out in siege fashion? No, because Babylon was unique and it was so huge that there was actually farmland in the city. They had hanging towers of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world in Babylon. They had enough food, someone did the math on this, for 20 years. You could surround this city for 20 years, and what would happen is your army will starve to death if you try to surround them. What about fresh water? Genius. The Euphrates River, still one of the most impressive rivers in Asia, ran through the city. The only place it ran in and the place where it ran out had a big, gigantic brass gate as big as this room that you can only be opened from the inside, and there was no getting in. We can let people in, but you can't get in. What do you do if you're an army and you can't? Well, that seems pretty impenetrable. So Belshazzar thought, big deal. So we just lost to the Persians. They're not getting in here. Let's throw a party, as one does. So while Belshazzar was drinking his wine, he gave orders to bring in gold and silver goblets that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken from the temple in Jerusalem. Nebuchadnezzar, okay, it says father here because in that language, father meant descendant. It's actually his grandfather. His grandfather had plundered the temple in Jerusalem, but Nebuchadnezzar became a believer in the God of Israel and kept them precious, kept them set aside. But this guy's out to prove to the next generation, yeah, you guys knew my superstitious weirdo grandpa. He was all into this God of Israel. Watch this, y'all. Which officially is, I've been told, the last words of a redneck. Watch this, y'all. Okay. I'm just repeating what I've heard. Okay. So watch this, y'all. So while everyone watches, he's got the king and his nobles, his wives and his porcupines. Wait. No, I'm sorry. Concubines. I read that wrong. Might drink from them. So they bring in the gold goblets. Watch this. My grandpa thought these were holy. Watch this. Here's how holy it is. Gonna go into a hole in my face. Drinking it down. And the kings and his nobles. And as they drank the wine, and here, this may have been the last straw for Belshazzar, because God is watching. As they drank the wine, they praised the gods of gold and silver. Let's bring out the statues that my grandpa didn't allow. Let's bring them out. Let's start worshiping these statues of gold and silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Woohoo! Partay, Babylonian style. Partay about to end. Suddenly, the fingers of a human hand suddenly appear and wrote near the lampstand in the royal palace. The king watched the hand as it wrote. Yeah, you think? Hands appear in the air, start writing things on the wall. I think you pay attention. You might even turn away from your phone at that point. Whoa. This is trumping thy text here. His face turned pale, and he was so frightened his legs became weak, and his knees were knocking. Whoa. Mr. Cool. Mr. Bring out the holy objects and drink wine and celebrate other gods. Now suddenly, he's blubbering like a 7-year-old girl at her first horror movie. And he's just going at it. Somebody tell me what this means. Now, what it was on the wall were 3 Hebrew words. And if you look at it in Hebrew, I won't bore you with this, but it's actually a cool pun, 3 puns. It would be the equivalent, if this were English, of it saying nickels, dimes, quarters was what was written, except it was 3 Hebrew coins. And they meant something. And he called in his wise men, please, anyone, if you could tell me what this means, I'll put a velvet robe upon you and a gold chain around your neck, and I'll make you third in command of the kingdom. Please, just tell me what that means. And the guys are like, ooh, wow, that's, because that's Hebrew. We can identify that, but it appears to be named of 3 coins. We don't know what this means. Somebody, won't somebody? I'm so scared. He's just blubbering in front of his guests. Embarrassing. Whoa. And in walks the queen mother, Nebuchadnezzar's wife, who walks in, welly, Junior, you thought you were so cool. You thought you were so much more sophisticated than your grandfather, my husband, who embraced the God of Israel. Now you got invisible hands writing on your wall. How's that looking for you? And so she says, but there is one that you've ignored. He's been kind of retired for the past 20 years. There was this young man, Daniel, who's probably getting pretty old now. And he had the power of God. He could interpret these kind of things. So if you'd like to know the interpretation, call for Daniel. And that's exactly what they do. Now, before we get to Daniel, let's take a moment to explore this thing called party blindness. Because, here's why. I know it tends to be when you get to be adult, you think, yeah, teenagers, they get together, and suddenly their IQs drop. They get together. You get 15-year-olds. My friend's dad used to say this, and this is when I was like 9 years old. He would say, Paul, you need to go out and move the stuff around the garage. Oh, that's fine. Tim and me will go out there. And he always said, at that time, he always said, one boy is a boy, two boys is half a boy, three boys is no boys. What did your dad just say? Oh, this is his little saying. He said, once more, so you can stitch this on a pillow. He said, one boy is a boy, two boys is half a boy, three boys is no boy. There is some wisdom of the ages. Okay, what he was saying was, if you want to get some work done, you send a boy, you got one boy's worth of work. If there are two boys going at it, you got half a boy. If there are three boys working at that project, you have zero, okay? Something happens to the IQs. As Agent K, Tommy Lee Jones, said to Agent J in that classic masterpiece of cinema, Men in Black. But it was wise. He said to Will Smith, played by Dan Smith in the movie, he said, a person is smart, but people are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. A person by themselves thinks rationally. You get them in groups, and suddenly, you have people drinking antifreeze, and it's easy to make fun. So when you're an adult, you're like, yeah, kids, what are you going to do? Teenagers, they're eating Tide Pods. They're driving down the road blindfolded, doing the Bird Box Challenge. And there is no shortage of dumb teenager stories, okay? If we had any of the teenager crowd, you could stand up and give us some dumb teenager stories, couldn't you? You probably have some good ones, okay? Because we all do. We all have dumb stories. But I'm not going to let us rest easy into thinking that it's just about teenagers being dumb in groups, because I think it might actually get worse when we become adults. First of all, I have discovered, I am now a grandpa, and I have still discovered I do things because I'm afraid someone's going to look at me funny. I catch myself in these moments. First of all, I've discovered as I get older, I have this burning hatred of reverse gear. Why do I think that? Because I go into a parking lot and I am looking through, I've got a name for it, I'm looking for a pull-through. That's two spaces that are facing each other that are empty, so I can just go in and pop out, facing out. This actually improves my mood to find a pull-through. I'm like, yes, a pull-through. So I don't have to go through the living hell of reverse gear. I don't know why. I don't get me. I don't know why I love it so much, but I'll go, well, yes, I'll pull through. So here's what I'll do. I'll pull, oh, man, there's no pull-throughs, but those people look like they're leaving. So I'll pull across from them, and I'm waiting for them to back out so I can pull through. Yeah, how do I get in these situations? So I'm just looking, but now I realize, now I look stupid, though. I'm just waiting while they're taking forever. Come on, the kids are in the car. Get everything. Your bags are in the car. Come on. And then I start doing this because I don't want to look stupid. I start doing this with the stereo. I mean, literally, I'm doing this motion in the car by myself, and I realize, what am I doing? I'm faking motions with my stereo. Like that guy over there, man, he's really intent on fine-tuning that stereo. Yeah. And I just continue because I don't want to look stupid for the people who I will never see again in my life, for them to hurry up and back up, because I don't want to turn my engine off and get out of drive. I want to zoom, pull in there so I can save myself the anguish of reverse gear. I don't get it. But I do these things because we still care about what other people think. I know it's cool to say, I don't care what nobody thinks, man. I've never met anyone who really, really doesn't care. Here's another one I do. My hearing is getting worse, okay? So I've discovered I have a 2 repeat policy. Somebody come on, hey, what's yeah, I didn't catch that. What? Again, can you repeat that? Yeah, okay. So I have no idea. But I'll agree to anything because I'm not going to ask for that 3rd repeat. It's just too much. I can't stand the look. They're going to roll their eyes at me. Optirotatophobia, I think, is the word for that condition. The fear of someone rolling their eyes at you. So I'll agree to anything, and then they drive off in my car. So that's apparently what they're asking. Okay. I don't know what it is. Yeah, okay. And apparently I've agreed to give your grandmother a foot massage. All right? I don't know. I've got a Norwegian family living in my basement because it was sounded mumbly to me. I didn't know what they were saying. They were asking that. So no matter how old you get, you still care. Don't tell me you don't, okay? Why do you spend that much money on a car? Someone said Americans are the only people that have 3 jobs so they can buy a nice car to drive from job to job. Why do you need that much of a nice car? You could buy a really good car for, yeah, but this is impressive looking too, the rest of the world. So it gets worse. So when you're 15, you're trying to impress the 10 other 15-year-olds. When you get to be an adult, you're trying to impress the world. You find this fabulous house. Wouldn't it be great to live in that house? It looks so great on the outside. Hey, here's a clue for you. When you live inside the house, you won't see the outside of the house. You need to move across the street from that house, okay? But we don't work it that way. I want to look impressive, so people draw. I don't know who that is, but that's an impressive house. You're darn right it's an impressive house. I had to sell my kids into scientific experiments to buy this house. You're darn right it is. And when you go shopping, you want to buy, oh, I want a really nice car. This will be impressive. Who are you trying to impress? The world. People you've never met. That's who you're trying to impress. We still do it. As adults, we still experience party blindness. The party just got bigger. Now, here's one that I will say, because I'm very concerned. This is a passion of mine, okay? I am growing very concerned about Christians in America specifically because I think we have a different kind of party blindness, all right? I'm talking about political party blindness, all right? Because I've seen it from both sides. I belong to neither party. I am equally irritated with both parties, okay? So I can say this exactly equal in the middle. Both parties do it. The other guy, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, nice one. Yeah, woo. Did you hear about that guy? He did that thing. Oh, yeah, oh, you hypocrites. And then your team does it. Well, yeah, but okay. I mean, still, you got to understand. Wait, whoa, what? What is this? Yeah, but that's my team, though. And I'm afraid in the United States, our political loyalties trump our Christianity, no pun intended, okay? We got right is right and wrong is wrong. You don't change because the other team, yeah, but if I say something about this, they're going to feel smug. They're going to smile. They're going to leer that sarcastic smile because of let's just squelch this one, okay? Because it's my team. Enough of the team, people. That's party blindness at its finest. It's not a cocktail party, with people standing around with martini glasses. It's a big party with your political party, and it's got to end, man. We got to quit doing this. I think of a nation not too long ago, a wealthy industrial nation. Economy was booming, very intellectual, very cultured country, and a very charming leader came into play. Let me tell you some things about this guy. This guy was very pro-family. He actually gave bonuses. The government would pay you a check, ladies, the more kids you had. You had money bonuses for having kids. He was big into physical fitnesses, sprouted up all over the country, physical fitness programs because of him. He was great for the economy. The economy was booming while everyone else was teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. This economy was booming. He was anti-abortion. And all the mostly church-going people in that country said, oh, he's great. Party blindness. He's great, though. He's in our party, and look at what's happening. What was the party? Did anyone guess by now? Nazi party, yeah. That guy had a little square mustache that'll probably never go in style again. Adolf Hitler. Let's see who that was. Now, my point being is the Christians in Germany, I'm going to give the same speech to them if I go back in time. Don't let your party loyalty rise above your Christianity, okay? Let's keep honing in on the words of Jesus. Okay, so that's a kind of party blindness. I'll just say that I'm not attacking either party. I'm equally attacking both parties, okay? Because both exactly do it. Let right be right and wrong be wrong, and the words of Jesus prevail over our political party platform. That being said, I think what would help us, what would certainly help Belshazzar, is a different picture of sin. Here's a different picture of sin for you. You ever notice these yahoos, you see them in the news, the guys like at some celebration, woo, man, we're happy, we're at a wedding, and they shoot a gun into the air. Now this is more prevalent in some cultures than others, but you have, especially in Mideast, people like blasting away Uzis into the air. And woohoo, because why? Apparently it feels good. I've never tried it, but apparently there's this big rush. Whoa! It's a big loud sound, and the jolt goes through your body. Woo! We're so happy. But I have never considered in my life, up until a few years ago, this basic law of physics. What goes up must come down. What happens with that bullet? Aren't there just bullets falling down on people? Yeah, they reach about maybe 2 miles in the air. Then they turn around and reach and are going as fast as an object can possibly go. They reach maximum velocity. And if they land on someone, yeah, I didn't think about that. Of course you didn't. It felt good to shoot that in the air. Woohoo! Yeehaw. I live about a mile away from Kentucky. I have good illustrations on this one. I'm down there in Cincy. Anyway, so apparently it feels good, but no one ever stops it. Well, wait, the bullets come down. This is a perfect picture of sin. It feels good. Are you considering where those bullets land? I don't know where they land. Exactly. You know who does know where they land? I'll give you some names. Sonia Sana was a Lebanese, and there was a wedding celebration a few miles away. And all of a sudden, he thought, wow, all of a sudden, she felt a pain in her stomach. I feel like an ulcer has come over me. And fortunately, the only way she lived was she was pretty close to a hospital. And they're like, no, a bullet went in your chest, fell from the air, and got as far down as almost your liver. She managed to survive. In Detroit, the cops in Detroit will not, they ground all their helicopters New Year's Eve into New Year's because there are so many knuckleheads shooting into the air. I'm told by our own Cleveland cop connection back here, the guy, it's also true here in Cleveland, people shooting not just into the air, sometimes shooting sideways, which I'm pretty sure that's not legal. But statistic after statistic, it's not just poor crowds. UCLA reported over a 10-year period, they had 118 over a 10-year period. Injuries, people shot mostly in the head, as you would expect, because that's the top part of your body. 118 people hit by bullets around New Year's Day. When everyone saw, woo! And it's a holiday to celebrate moving your calendar. Whoop-de-doo. So we're so excited about moving that calendar, we're going to shoot in the air, and 118 people got hit, a third of which died. That's low, I would think, because most of them were head injuries, as you would expect. But you never stop to think about that. There's a 10-year-old girl in Maryland. Her family will always think about that. Because a few minutes into the new year in 2006, their little girl standing on the porch got hit in the head with a bullet that some goofball fired near. Why did you do that? Felt good. There's a picture of sin. I don't know where those bullets are landing. Exactly. So how do you avoid stupid behavior? You listen to the one who knows where the bullets land. There's God. He knows. I'm telling you. Yeah, but it doesn't seem that bad, and this is our curse here. We think it through. What doesn't seem? What? Okay. All right. Come on. Boys will be boys. It's not hurting anybody. If God said don't do it, it's hurting someone. It might be just you, but it's hurting someone. There's a great passage of Scripture in 1 Timothy before we get back to Daniel. The sins of some are obvious, reaching the place of judgment ahead of them. The sins of others trail behind them. Now, you have to sort through that a little bit, but what Paul's saying is there are some sins have what we would call today maybe instant karma. Paul would not have used those words. If you step on a rake, wow, instant, give about a half a second. That was really dumb. Oh, man, and there are some sins like that. Instantly, oh, boy, that was so stupid. That was so stupid going into the bank, true story, with a motorcycle helmet on to rob the bank, forgetting that my name is on the outside of the motorcycle helmet. That's dumb, okay? Instant karma would be a good example. But here's the thing, but catch that last sentence. The sins of others trail behind them. It doesn't catch up to you. Sometimes 20, 30 years later, oh, yeah, I shot that bullet in the air. Some examples. My friend Greg became a Christian when he was in high school. Always had this habit. It was kind of annoying. It was mildly annoying. But he would really, we'd be with Greg when something happened. And then when he later retold the story, dude, you added some details there. I embellished a little. What's the big deal? He said. Well, the big deal is this is getting to be a habit with you. And when he went off and became a minister, the habit followed him. Especially when he was under pressure to produce a good story, he would produce a good story. And especially when he was reporting his ministry to the board of his leadership board, he would embellish. And finally ended up, long story short, he lost his ministry, ended up losing his marriage. Because he just could not seem to tell the truth. What? You started firing that gun probably age 12, And it didn't come back to bite you till now you're wondering, yeah, I keep sending resumes to churches, padded resumes to churches, and for some reason they won't accept me. That's very odd. It's almost as if there was a supreme being who saw this coming and said, be a person of truth. Oh, well. Another example, a guy I knew in a major city in the United States, probably the most thriving church in this city, and they had all these branch campuses, and it was like this big empire. And started to happen with this guy, as often happens. You're the guy in charge. You pretty much do what you want. I'm going to act what I want. And he just became to the people who worked with him, a bigger and bigger jerk, okay? And people who dared to oppose him, this isn't right. You know what? Maybe you don't belong in this team. Why don't you go somewhere else? And we just kick you out until we surrounded entirely by yes men who did not argue, who put up with his D-bag behavior and just continued on until finally one day he asked his leadership to do something completely unethical, and they said, okay, yes, sir, that's a good idea. And finally, whap! It slapped back in his face. The bullet landed. You were acting like a jerk for several years, and out of the woodwork came these people he'd fired. And all of a sudden, he lost everything, had to step down from his ministry, shut down many of these branch campuses. He was a requested speaker all over the country, not anymore. He was an author, not anymore. Lost it all. How'd this happen? Because you didn't believe God when he said, be kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another. Be a good person. Stop acting like a jackass with people around you. Don't do that. I'm summarizing some scripture for you, just summarizing. Okay. But that's what it is. Like, where did that? Because you shot a bullet in the air. Everyone saw you shooting. You were shooting every day, and it came back down to land. Now, there's no better example of this. I don't want to spend too long on this because last time I was here, I talked about this, and I don't want to be the guy that only ever talks about this. But there's no better example than the shooting in the air and not seeing any victims than it comes to sexual sins. God has standards. Let me first say, God created sex. You can just, let that wash over you. God's the creator. So the whole thing with that was God. You mean the design of, that was me. I came up with it. That's very impressive. I don't know what else you have on your resume, God. But wow, that one very impressive. Okay, so God wants you to enjoy it, okay? But God has some guidelines. We live in a society, our world is getting crazier and crazier where people are like, if you dare suggest, maybe don't give in to every sexual urge. What? What are you talking about? They stare at you like your hair's on fire. Of course, everyone should give in to every sexual urge, really. Because Moses said, and Jesus quoted Moses, and Paul quoted Jesus, quoting Moses, the trifecta. So this is very important. Said, for this reason a man shall leave his mother and his father and shall cleave unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's God's standard. Try walking outside of a church and preaching that one on the street corner. Like, what? Come on, I'm red, but my hormones are kicking in. This is what humans do. Come on, what are you talking about? And there's the classic example. I'm just having fun, man. Really, those bullets are never going to land. God sees where the victims are. Now, we've all screwed up, so I'm not trying to lump guilt on you. If you were washed by the blood of Jesus, there's no guilt, okay? But there are victims. There are victims, and especially with sexual sins, those victims come decades later sometimes. Sometimes it's the kids when you explain, because you never learn sexual restraint. You have to explain to the kids, sometimes mommies and daddies fall out of love, and I'm going to have to leave now because I can't keep my zipper shut. Sorry, kids. You could summarize the speech that way. And like, wow, and to see the kids. What if your superpower, because have you ever pondered good superpowers? I've done that way too much. I've given way too much thought to that. I know flying is the fan favorite, but invisibility is pretty good too. But try this one. How about every time you go to do an action, you can see the faces of anyone this will hurt? Whoa. Boy, that is a buzzkill. There's a wet blanket on your urges. My daughter one time asked if she'd get a tattoo back here. I won't say the rude phrase for it. Tramp stamp. All right, I said the rude phrase. In case you have one, I don't want you to feel that way. But I said to my daughter, okay, I will say yes on this condition. And she got all excited. The tattoo has to be a picture of me going like this. Because any guy that's staring down there, I want him to lose any urges, okay? That will kill anyone. It kills my wife's urges, I promise you. But that's the thing. So, but if you can see the face of who you're hurting, what if you had that super, whoa, I don't want to do this. The Wolfinger Research Foundation just recently found out there's a correlation between the number of sex partners you've had and your probability of divorce. It's not like you're a victim of this. However, this is as of 2012, 5% of all marriages begin with, that's your first sex partner, 5%. I'm surprised it's that high, 5%. And you have a much healthier chance of that marriage lasting. Whereas you get past 10 partners, it's plummeting. Okay, your probability of the marriage will end greatly increases. Now, that really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone because you've been conducting a comparative study. And the chances of this person living up to your taste for variety is you're shooting yourself in the foot. That bullet's going to land, and you're going to be one of the victims, and your partner's going to be one of the victims. And if you have kids, God forbid, they're going to be one of the victims. And that's the way it works. Well, no duh. It kind of works that same way. But you can do comparative studies other ways, through porn. We now have a new condition where kids who started watching porn at like 9 years old, 10 years old, wow, that's so foreign to me, but that's what the new age is, okay? By the time they reach their 20s, they require Viagra in order to be with a real person because they've lowered their sensitivity so much. This is a new development. And God's like, see, I didn't want that. I didn't want somebody in their 20s to need Viagra. Come on. Like, I wanted this to be fabulous. I invented this. I want this to be fun in the right place. God, no one's sadder about this than God, but no, there's no better example of those kind of victims, the victims of that bullet you fired in the air. Or you could listen to God. In battle, if you like military warfare, that's not what I meant. If you like studying military war, okay. In modern warfare, they started doing those missile launchers and things, and what's the other word for that one? Mortar. I couldn't think of mortar. Sorry. All right. So yeah, mortar fire. But you want to do it a safe distance away so where they can't get you. So you want to get behind a hill. The army's on the other side of the hill, and how do you know where you're hitting? Oh yeah, someone is assigned that very unlucky job. Swanson, we need you to go up to the hill with this really huge radio pack back in the day, with this really conspicuous high antenna. Get up on top of that hill and tell us where the mortars are landing. Okay, so, yeah, I'd move about 10 feet to the left. Okay, you need to be 30 feet back. And he's up there reporting. This is not a good job. Because where are they coming from? Somebody's watching us. Okay, look for the guy with the really obvious antennas. Oh, there he is. Okay, and you're a big target. My dad did that in Korea for a short time. So that's no fun. But now, in this day and age, now you don't need the guy up there with the radio pack in there, because now you got satellite imagery. And the military base uses a very high grade version of Google Earth. So you can be on an iPad at the Pentagon, literally guiding missiles. Okay, move over. Yeah, you need to go a little bit over to the left. Because I see everything. We can see anything we want to see. There's the picture of God. God's the one. He doesn't need no iPad, thinking iPad. He was doing Google Earth before Google ever thought of Google Earth. God can see everything, and he can tell you, I can tell you where these bullets are going to land. Maybe, just maybe, you can give me some credit for being the supreme being of the universe. I'm not entirely dim. And when I tell you not to do something, that means someone's going to get hurt. At the end of the day, God does not want people to get hurt. This is why he gives us the commands we give us, but we're way too smart for God. We're way too sophisticated. Which brings us to Belshazzar, who just did all the stupid things. Apparently this didn't work like the Ark of the Covenant where your face melted. That would have been really cool. But it's something very close. Daniel was like, the king wants to talk to me? Man, he hasn't wanted to talk to me for a couple decades here. So Daniel, who's now an old man, now in his 80s, comes walking in. And he looks at the situation. Oh, you got the goblets from the temple in Jerusalem, I see. Oh, you've been drinking. Oh, you brought in the statues. And then he busts out Billy Joel's, you had to be a big shot, didn't you? You had to wow the crowd. That's not really the words, but whatever. I'm just a man who forgets lyrics. But now look at you. Where is now thy mouth? Now you got the hand of God writing on the wall, and I'm going to tell you what this means because God gave me that gift. Mene, tekel, upharsin, or Perez. I know those seem like two completely different words. Depends on where you put the vowels in Hebrew. Never mind. He says, Mene means numbered. God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. This one sounds like the coin mina. This one sounds like the coin shekel. Genius. You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting, and PRS are the three consonants in Hebrew. Perez or upharsin. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Boom. Drop the mic. I'm outie. Because Daniel knows the significance of this. Because years ago, back when they were back in Jerusalem, this old crazy prophet named Jeremiah gave a prophecy. I think that might be on the next one. All that time ago, before there was a Babylon on the rise, Jeremiah said, behold, I am preparing. Jeremiah 25:8. Because you have not listened to my words, Israel, I will summon all the peoples of the north, my servant. Piled up boulders into the Euphrates, a very wide river, piled up boulders until the river rerouted. And suddenly, that Euphrates River that was going under that brass gate, suddenly dry, and they walked in, fools. They walked into Babylon. And that very night, they haven't even cleaned up the dishes from the banquet, and all of a sudden, King Darius of the Medes shows up, and my microphone's back on. Shows up and the city goes crashing down exactly 70 years after he said it would. And Daniel said, you thumbed your nose at God. You thumbed your nose at God. And what happened? Ooh. So a lesson to be learned, ladies and gentlemen. The question to ask, what will you do when the party's over? Yeah, but we were having such fun at the party. And then the party's over. Then what? Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, Jeremiah also said this. At the end of the day, when this life is over, strong man, don't brag about your strength. Wise man, don't brag about your wisdom. Rich man, don't brag about your money. None of those will matter. Those are basically the three categories of human desires, okay? You want nice things, woo! Almost had an accident. So if you're all about the exterior, looking beautiful, looking pretty, at the end, it's not going to matter. Those muscles you build up, if that's your thing, it's going to be like taking off the Spider-Man costume with those fake foam muscles, and all of a sudden, whoa, there's nothing there. If your thing is wisdom, if you've acquired smarts, if you're intelligent, you got lots of degrees, it won't matter if you don't know God. It'll be like you had those fake glasses you can put on to look smarter. Yeah, I got them for a good price, all right? Or money. It's like holding monopoly money. I've lived my whole life and I've acquired this empire, and now Monopoly boards folded up. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is get to know the God. Get to know the God who knows where all the bullets land. Get to know him. The only thing that will matter in the end, once the party's over, is do you know him? I hope you do. I hope we're not as dumb as monkeys. That's what I hope. Okay? Because here's how you catch a monkey. I heard this from people in monkey countries. Now suddenly I want a map of the world with the monkey countries outlined. Okay, I don't know why. That just sounds fun. Monkey countries. So if you go to monkeycountries.com, here's how you catch a monkey. That's not a real thing. That can't be. But you need a jar and a banana and a chain. You wrap a chain so it's holding on tightly to that jar. The other part of the chain you connect to a tree. And now you've got a monkey trap. You put a banana in the jar. I don't know how this is going to catch a monkey because of monkeys' nature. So people who catch monkeys and sell them to pet shops in the United States, this is how they do it. So you just wait. You can sit in your home, chill nearby in some hut, and all of a sudden you hear, monkey screaming. Why is the monkey screaming? He's caught in a trap. How is he caught? What caught him? He was a jar. You go, and there's a monkey with his hand. Now, the mouth of that jar is big enough to get a banana in or out. It's big enough to get a hand in or out. It's not big enough to get a hand holding a banana out. And there's where you've caught your monkey. Just let go. I can't. It's a delicious banana. Are you nuts? Come on. They're coming at you. See the guys. You don't have to run at the monkey. You just walk. Yeah, we have a big net. They're holding a net, monkey. You might want to let go, but it's a beautiful banana. I can't. Really? They're almost here. You might want. This would be a good time to let go of the banana. But it's a banana. It's a delicious banana. And they will not let go of that banana. The net goes over. They get sent to a pet shop in the United States. Okay, they'll get lots of bananas in cages. Unless they live on Neverland, Michael Jackson. But anyway, so you get the idea. But this is a sad, sad picture. I can't let go. I know I should follow God, but I can't. I don't want to let go. Dude, just let go. Jesus said, I come that you might have life and have it to the full. I promise you, there are better joys over here. Yeah, but I love this. I love it. It's so great. Just let it go, man. After the party's over, it won't matter. There will be no bananas to hang on. All that will matter is that you know the God of the universe, the God of Daniel, the God of Israel, the God who knows where all the bullets will land, and obey him.